Hello everybody and welcome into the NECC. It's Monday night, that means Valorant and Haza. Well, we've got some amazing playoff games.
We certainly do. We'll be covering the first best of three. For all of you guys tonight here, it is playoff week like you mentioned, so the stakes count for that little bit extra right now because teams are playing for their survival in the tournament. We have Briar Esports versus Concordia University as this first game. I believe we have one more best of three coming up afterwards. We won't be taking you through that one specifically, but since this has already been a little bit drawn out, we will just be jumping straight into this game. The three maps that we have lined up for you, I think, Cairo, if you want to talk about this a little bit, are ones which we haven't seen too much of so far.
No, it isn't maps.
quick early trade between those two players, as I believe we are back on the desk for the time being. We'll just have to wait and see what's happening in the game. Look, perhaps we can pretend, Cairo, if you want. I'll be the chamber.
Okay.
There you go.
I don't think that's Chamberlain. I think that was a little bit of James Bond action there.
Really? Yeah. What, looking down the end of the barrel with it when it sort of closes in. Oh, look, we are back. So no more tomfoolery, and we can just return to what is going on. And by the looks of it, only the one kill so far that we've actually seen. But this rotate through showers could be dangerous with Merchant laying in wait.
Spike down.
Yeah, I'm already. Bro, there goes. Any hope of initiating on towards the site? It's all these players now having to take these gun shells, the paint shells, placed to perfection in Red Radiant, well, proving why they have that name, pushing in towards lamps and really opening up this site. The chamber elsewhere, though, does have that shorty and will do the work, but they're on low HP themselves, Hazza. And now we go into a 2 versus 2.
Big on the flank, looking to find something, but Code World sends him to a different dimension. Hariri lines up the shot through the box and gets it spot on with only one headhunter bullet left, looking to just header this molly away and actually gets it done. Hops on the spike. I think Jawbreaker knows this, peeks out just in time and is able to claim the kill, making amends for a nice adjustment there that we see from the chamber. Definitely one to watch out for with that kind of game knowledge brought in here.
Yeah, I guess you could say the damage had already been done to Hariri, but going 3-1 on that first round will get you a couple of extra, a little bit of pocket change there after all those kills, so maybe be able to buy up a couple of those headhunter bullets and maybe do some damage in this round.
Certainly been hunting those heads a little bit, and the awareness to look for the incendiary, perhaps, you know, the size of their huge brain helped them deflect it away. But from the defense, Briar looking for some early aggression here, just moving down in towards shore, but the players are aware from both ends the crossfire is established, and as they enter the mouth of the beast, they get swallowed whole. Twister with a poor timing on the barrier orb allows for Red Radiant to go clambering over, and that leaves only the aforementioned Hariri in a very difficult spot.
Yeah. Only on a shorty as well. One headhunter bullet. I mean, at least they could maybe get the chance at one kill, but at this point in time, is that's going to be another round to Concordia, and let's not hope that, well, the comp differences of the comp, but I guess problems that we've flagged up don't continue to kind of go through this map.
Yeah, I think the most important thing to note will be the play style of both of these teams and how they try and approach it with the comps that they have. Like we mentioned before, this Briarcliff one being that little bit more defensive with the Sage as well. But by the same note, when it does flip over to the attack, there's so much to consolidate control of the site. For example, you put that wall up and it makes the retake a bit more difficult. So we'll just have to see what kind of value we can get from it. Playing on the other side right now, just holding the Judge to try and do some damage on these players, but I think they might be aware that he's currently posted up in the corner and they're just happy to hold on to this position. There's utility that could perhaps flow through to push them away. The incendiary will do so, only restricting the angle that they can hold, not actually doing any damage, but all the same, there we go, paint shells. This is going to be the death sentence. There we have it. Very nicely played.
Yeah, the Brim trying to cook themselves up a Sage sandwich, but, well, unfortunately, the paint shells can't. Well, the paint shells do the work. Sorry, Red Radiant will take out Joey's to bait them out. And now we head in towards the 3 versus 5, where there's upgrades already to be had for these players. Maybe the Judge not so much, but the rest of these guns can still do work. Hariri tries to get aggressive, but can't do so. The Rays of Red Radiant does the work, but so does Merchant, getting 2 of their own. 3 versus 2, Spike going down.
This is already a great situation for CUW, but they'd like to convert this. The bonus, of course, would start to put them away from their opponent. Out of sight, out of mind, perhaps. Still a player to the good. Uncle trying to move through, clearing out the corner, but Shadow clears out their position almost entirely. Only a husk of a player left as it drops to the ground of Lamps. Merchant now moving through. Would have to be an ace clutch to see this one through. Already on 2 kills, make it a 3rd. Dispatches another one, ships them off in with the Vandal. Trying to use the blast packs to move through the site, but has been sold a fake. Ring around the Rosie. That one is not legit, and Merchant will be walking away with no merchandise. Code World to take it and a bonus to be claimed.
A nice effort from Merchant to retake in towards that site, but I guess it's even better played by Concordia in the way that they set up on that site once the spike was down. It was very efficient in terms of that post plant, Hazard, you have to say, in terms of how they took up their positioning.
Yeah, it was a really nice crossfire from that player in towards bench and then Lamp's control as well. If the retake from the defenders had been a little more coordinated towards Lamps, you could have perhaps pulled it apart a bit better. I think as well, the early use of the Trailblazer meant that it wasn't allowed to have value then in the subsequent retake, so perhaps just a key piece of utility missing. When you pick up the Sky, of course, you don't have two Prowlers, so you have to be a little bit more reserved with your usage. Speaking of utility, once again, nice clearing to get these players out position, and Uncle dropped all the way low. An easy pickup for Red Radiant.
Oh, and this might be even easier as the showstopper comes through in towards that shoot position, whatever you want to call it, Hazard. I'll tell you what, it's in Concordia. Control now as all the utility comes through. A nice Seas and Paint Shells combo, but nothing really to get except a chip damage on towards Boat World.
Yeah, their position not quite in place, and these players from the flank as well, not giving everything away basically. Positions entirely known, and with both of them now taken, it's only Twee from spawn. Another player which they're well aware of. Yeah, nothing capitalized from it. I think the Chamber trademark as well, showing a lot of that as Red Radiant with their back turn flicks around just in time and unloads that Judge in the face of Twee to make it a fourth.
Well, it was a little bit of the cha-cha slide as they decided to reverse all the way back, and two hops into the head, and it was all done. 4-0 already. Concordia racing to get this map finished.
Yeah, and well, speaking of reversing things, flipping them around, if you put that score the opposite way, that's the KD of the bottom three players on Briar Cliff. All of them yet to register a kill impact in this game, you know, if you're not considering the 2 assists that Uncle has at this point in time. But perhaps a little more to be done by them here, because leaving it up to one player from the defender's side is not really viable at all, because you never know where that hit's going to come in from. It's ever so reliant on them being a sole anchor of a certain site, and whether Concordia choose to hit it or not is completely out of the question.
Yeah, slightly concerning. Red Radiant does get punished finally by a Phantom, but Joey's pushed all the way up in towards the smoke, and the two players at the other side are completely unbeknownst to this position. Although will try and drop out Joey, going to send the Prowler through, and does get that at least some information from audio cues alone. Shadow Ghoul on 10 HP, try to re-clear Hookah, does so, but it looks as if this might be a TP play as all 4 players move up longer as I say that.
Yeah, well, the problem is if you go for the TP play here, there's a trademark waiting in showers, and not only that, there's so much space that needs to be re-cleared. They do assume positions for the B split, and this looks to be where the hit is coming in from. An orbital strike to clear out space perhaps, but instead just going in completely dry, and Jawbreaker wins it either way.
Oh, but Merchant has it still on the site. He does have the showstopper, pops it, pop step bro, now still on the Shadow Ghoul, trying to be a little bit of one of those players that goes bump in the night. The paint shells drop right into their position. They're going to have to run away. Now onto 4 HP. You can't help but feel this will be Briar Cliff's first round, and it is a nice shot. Nice play from Merchant, and all in all, has it. We finally see them on the scoreboard.
Yeah, and a couple of those players as well now getting onto the scoreboard, so everything's starting to turn up handsome here for Briar Cliff. They were the winners the last time that these two teams played each other in the groups, you know, before moving into playoffs, of course, this now being the quarterfinals of the Challenger bracket. So a nice response. Getting that operator in the hands of Hariri will also help out this defense a lot. It means that we can have Twee stuff focus towards showers, use the utility as he has been doing to slow down the push in that area, while Hariri almost entirely controlling this short choke. A couple of angles to watch, so not the easiest of shots to connect, but with an operator in hand and a rendezvous pre-placed, there's an easy escape route if they need it.
If they need it, has up. Hariri not really challenged here, and Shell's completely vacated, and I don't think the Sage is even watching it. Hariri, though, could have a nice little meal to chop down on. Does see the Viper, but completely misses. And, well, that barrier rob is now up. They know that this hit may be coming in towards A, and there's already rotates in the cards.
I would like to have seen that barrier orb be a little more proactive because it's conceded so much space, and not only that, now giving up short with the rendezvous coming through, it's allowed for the toxic screen to move these players towards lamps, use the pit to get the spike on down, and with an ultimate also for the retake as well, this could be huge. But there comes the Nightfall, players side to look through. Harimi, what is that? Through the smoke blindly, able to connect two, and now it is that 2 versus 5. Got to be looking at the orbital strike here to perhaps bail them out.
I mean, I guess the good thing is they do have the Viper's Pit, although the players will be doubling up and heading in towards site as a unit, and they do so effectively. Code World just playing around the edge of the smoke, passes the Sage but can't pass the Brim. That will be another round, and Briar Cliff, well, they've got some momentum now.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of how Code World played that. You have 2 Snake Biters and your Poison Cloud as well. Not that the Cloud is necessary with the decay on the pit itself, but perhaps just try and stall the round out a little bit longer. I guess, you know, by the same margin, it also lets your position be known to the opposing team, and there's always a chance that Briarcliff immediately react off the back of that. But yeah, not too much stall taken up in the end by those 2 agents, the 2 controllers that they've brought into this composition, which are ever so strong in the post plant. More than anything else, it's that initial setup which is completely broken by Briarcliff.
Now the Trailblazer just clearing out. It seems as if they're trying to get as much information as possible. A nice default here from Concordia to kind of take all the extremities, as you tend to call it, of this map, the either side, and I mean, that's just going to miss out Jawbreaker here.
It's the question of whether someone wants to peek off the back of it, and there's always a chance that Joey might go for this, but is still holding firm onto the Prowler, and more importantly, his current position in Octagon. Our player's holding from a little bit deeper. It is Merchant on the angle. Yeah, I see also as well, Briarcliff have changed the barrier orb towards Showers while still conceding the ultimate orb from that position. It means that you have to shoot out more segments before you can actually gain access to the site. So a nice mid-game adaptation here for them to slightly change the way that this defense is played. And there we go. Merchant collects the first kill, calls in Joey to go for a peek. The shot's not connecting on the second attempt and actually falling down, but Merchant does trade it out, and it keeps Briarcliff in front.
Yeah, I thought Hazard on that long position with the way the 3 players were stacking up, it was going to be that TP play, especially with the fact the Chamber was still in towards Showers. Hariri though, just collects Shadow Ghoul, and it's all falling apart. It's up to Red Radiant. What can they do? How can they fight this one? The rays of Merchant tries to hide in long, and the time might just be a little bit too low. I'll tell you what's going to be low. Red Radiant's position taken out completely.
And that's now a 3rd round in a row for Briarcliff. We're slowly getting towards the point where CUW need to go on to an eco. We haven't seen it just yet, simply because of the fact they were able to win 4 in a row. They got a spike plant on all of them as well, which, you know, really helps that little bit of extra cash injection come through. Lots of the weapons being kept on those, of course, as well, in flawless fashion. But Briarcliff, this has been a brilliant response. On their own map pick, I think it's important to note here, getting off started in the series and claiming your own pick will alleviate so much pressure from the shoulders of those players here as we are now in the knockout stages.
No, already starting to maybe keep it a little bit simple, not go for that default. They tried it before, it didn't work out, and now look at that stack on towards the B site, and it's the more, I guess, available of the sites and less defended of the 2.
Yeah, it's because Merchant has rotated over. It seems like this duelist player is the flex between sites currently, and the hinge upon which this Briarcliff team can choose to pivot. Lots of utility introduced to the fray as they've now made their way onto the scene. In explosive fashion, you should say, as Twee actually comes to join them with the slow orb falling through. Off the back of utility alone, Concordia should know there's at least 3 players here, but they've taken 2 of them out and found their way through to now get this spike planted.
They've completely taken the orbital strike offline as well, Hazard, which could prove to be the most pivotal part of those frags, but we'll need to see if that is the case. The Haunt destroyed, not much information gained, apart from the fact that that site is completely in their opponent's hand, but I guess they already knew that. The Chamber's now in towards the spawn, but that's a lovely double from Shadow. Now up to Hariri, and it's a nice take from Concordia all in all.
Oh, it's nicer than nice. It's fantastic from CUW there. The way that they surgically operated that B site, picked it apart piece by piece, but the only thing perhaps that you could condemn them for is the over excessive amount of ultimates that we use to crack the code, right? It's like, you know, there's a door with a flimsy padlock on it and you bring a sledgehammer to try and whack it open. Orbital Strike, fair enough, but the Seekers and Tour de Force as well, perhaps a little bit unnecessary, I guess you could say, all the while around being claimed. But most importantly, it does keep them behind in terms of ultimate abilities here, and we'll have to see what value Briar can get from their own in this situation.
I guess maybe the Tour de Force, they'd already committed it earlier round, but in terms of the Seekers, I totally agree, Hazard. And now it's that default play again that we're seeing from Concordia. Remember last time they didn't get much of, I guess, payment out of it. The boombot does go out on towards shot, and I think it just caught out the raise.
Yeah, this defense has adapted even more, though. Hariri on the Tour de Force this time around will be holding down B long, looking towards Fountain, and the overflow is there. The peak comes through, and Shadow Ghoul wins out, taking that chamber ult offline. We spoke about what value they could find. It's been absolutely nothing, and with this solo hold now crushed, that's the B site completely free for the taking. One which will be incredibly difficult to retake, but Orbital Strike still in pocket. We'll have to see what could be made of that if they choose to invest. It does happen, but nothing ultimately found, and no players moving off the back of it either. Still very slow to commit, and once they finally do lay their neck on the line, it's Chopley swift off, and just like that, 6-3.
Seems as if this is going to ebb and flow all the way through the match with the way that both teams are performing here. Maybe going to be a bit of a poor buy from Briar, but before we even get the chance, we are going to see Darks, the coach, actually call a timeout and maybe discuss what's going wrong from them.
Yeah, in terms of the defenders here, and when we look at the setups that they've held here as well, they seem quite happy to be able to flex between a few different variations, and we saw one of them on the previous round with that Tour de Force being held, the trademark towards Hookah. A couple of teams will do this if they look to play towards the B retake, but then you have to look at what your win conditions are from that retake position, one of them being the Orbital Strike. Its main purpose really in that situation, because if we're being real, the placement of it would not allow for players to get picked up, right? You're putting it right in the center of the plantable area. You're denying the spike from going down more than anything else. It's off the back of that displacement that you then need to be making your initial push towards the site, perhaps lodging it in the corner instead, so you have safer passage to clear out Cubby and make your way from spawn. But yeah, it's just those small margins that we've got to be looking towards here for Briar, and what the game plan really is, whether it's for retake, a more defensive hold, that still remains to be unseen.
And Hariri investing an op on what is essentially an eco round for Briar is going to be a big investment, and they'll have to have that pay dividends and it might actually be the case as all players ready to move up, with Shadow Ghouls holding the tight angle, just can't quite find that chamber player, and it's just going to be potentially a rotate, but no, they're holding still.
Yeah, and has moved away from that rendezvous, so getting caught out from this position would be a curse, but one which they've been able to avoid. It's been lifted for the time being. The chamber duel currently winning out in favor of CUW. Codewell trying to catch position on Joey and is able to isolate the fight using the wall, but it's not one that they're capable of winning. A nice kill there taken out on the Sheriff means that already CUW are a player down, and if they continue to trade out in short here as well, the res is also online. This is an area of the map which they're almost forced to contest at this point.
Already, Jawbreaker is going to get caught out as we see the Sky Smokes being prepared and ready to send on towards the site. This is the weaker of the two. A man advantage here for Concordia, but you can't help but feel when they push onto the site, this might end in disaster as the Nightfall's invested. Red Radiant, no information in terms of audio cues, but you don't need audio cues when you can just collect heads. Now the site slowly goes in towards the favour of these attacker players as they start to pick off these heads.
Oh, Twee second guessing whether to pick up the Sheriff or not, which Joey had done good work on, but it's their fallen teammate who was isolated initially. A nice off angle from Shadow Ghoul, unexpected to be cleared, and now that Hariri has sent off that warning shot, one which just whistled past Merchant, Now they're going to just be looking to hunt this one down as much as possible. Winning the last two, loss bonus, you know, is in play for Briar, but more than anything, they have money to work with. How much cash can you afford to throw at it, though? When does the call come through to stop it? Because you're just hemorrhaging players at this point in time. Hariri has picked up 3. Not enough time to recontest the site and look for a defuse, but that is a damaging one to concede.
I was just waiting for those last 5 seconds to play out, Hazard. And, oh, well, that is a really, really big round in terms of loss of rifles. But I guess at the same point, is that you were talking about loss bonus, but in terms of win bonuses as well, I mean, there's plenty in those pockets of those players to send things, lose rifles. You may as well to try and hinder your opponents. It is going to be a full buy for both teams. And well, what can they do? It's an interesting one that Hariri's going to peek in towards mid here.
Looking for something aggressive this time. From short, but the angle is damning for them. Just, the long barrel of the operator poking out like the nose of a woodpecker is stuck inside a tree or something, and it's just completely carved out by Red Radiant. Paint shells will get traded in this situation, but it's just a question of whether Merchant can be found or not, and there's your answer. The player now falls, and Uncle will have to do the work by themselves. Not going to happen. Joey also in place, but such low HP, almost just throwing their life away in that situation. Now, Twee, 1 versus 4. I gotta say it, yet to register a kill. The chances of them doing this, I think, is nigh impossible. Not gonna happen.
Nah, it's not. Twee really, I don't want to say letting down the side because that's, I guess, a bit derogatory to the way that they're playing. But we keep seeing this judge being played, hasn't? It's not paid anything.
I think more than anything else, it's got to be the decision of the Sage and the lineup, right? What value can you make if you're not having the best game, which these players won't always do? Yeah, everyone has their off days, even the pros, right? But you've got to be thinking, what kind of passive impact can I bring to this team? It's going to be through the walls, through the slows, and that res as well. But it's not one that we've seen invested just yet. And, you know, a couple of choice maneuvers involving that wall have, you know, perhaps conceded territory, which have made things more difficult to work from that defensive side. So perhaps a step up that we need to see, but who knows when that's going to come. Paint shells coming through, and you know, as I'm speaking about this, I don't want to draw on for too much longer, but you could have perhaps, you know, put a slow orb on top of that, and that's exactly the kind of combination util play that you want to see from Briar here.
Yeah, but you've not even seen like I think we've seen honestly 1 time of the Seas and Paint Shells combo as well, and that was on a retake. There's no initial presence. I guess that onus to try and go and get the picks.
Yeah, I think as well here, with the defense being so heavily towards the A side and A being, you know, that easier site to retake, perhaps I'd like to see it the other way. But you know, it doesn't matter. I think we're throwing a lot of points here and in the air, but either way, Briar are doing exactly what they need to on this round. Hariri's found that kill. Breaking the trademark here on the flank would almost set Concordia into the crosshairs of those players on the site. Twee holding close, but does get taken down by Code, and just once again the kill feed flows red and the blood gushes to the floor as Briar get completely dismantled as the pit is deployed.
Spike planted.
Yeah, Spike going down now, 2 versus 4, and while these players are well and truly set up, all within the Vipers pit apart from 2, but they're holding, you know, the outside of that, not allowing for any flanks to come through. And Hariri and the compadre of Merchant, what are they going to find here? Doesn't seem much as they try to spam through. It's guessing, trying to win the lottery. That's essentially the equivalent here, and I don't think there'll be much to be found.
Remaining 3 players holding from inside the pit as well. All angles of it covered. Merchant nearly slips between the lines, but with that flash coming on towards Hariri, it is an invitation for the firing squad to get called into action. Shadow Ghoul, the one to actually take it, I think, through the mist, through the fire and flames, actually, they're able to get it done. But, you know, vision or no vision, that will be the round in the pocket. 9-3, a gap of 6 rounds, one which could easily close, but we need to see a response from Briar here. Also important to note with this being their map pick heading on to Breeze, Concordia are very favoured, and a potential 2-0 on the cards after how close the series was last time out would be a real shock. But at the same time, in the quarterfinals, it's do or die, and we need to see something a little bit more from them here.
I think as well, Hazza, when you look towards the Agent comp, you would probably favour Briar because they do have those 2 Sentinels, whereas Concordia, now moving on with this double controller setup, how's that going to look like on the defence? I do slightly start to have the worries here, but at the same time, this is Valorant and anything can happen.
I do also like the initiation that Briar have with this fade, and we'll have to see what those Prowlers can get up to as the first one is shot out. Not too much collected off the back of that. Paint shells will slow down the push, which is now making its way through Hookah and Long inside the smoke. Code able to get one. Dish out a little bit of chip onto Uncle. And actually followed up. That's the spike. Moving all the way through. It's now in such a difficult position to try and be reclaimed. The question is, do Briar want to try and find it or look for some other kills before they're able to do so? Perhaps contest from defender spawn instead. That one being held, of course, by Shadow Ghoul, but taken out from Joey. And now we're back to a 2 versus 2. This one looking a little bit more tangible.
It certainly does. Hazza Hariri's just holding on towards this elbow position, but thing is, Spike's in elbow. They need to try and get this back, and they will try and do so. A nice haunt comes out. Code again, though, does the work, but it's Step Bro actually that picks up the double, picks up those 2 players, and that Spike being lost in elbow, Hazza, will be the detriment of that round.
Yeah, it's a really, really unfortunate situation because it's so punishing of what Briar were actually able to do in that round. They broke their way through the choke. They had control of the site. The rest of the players, you know, trying to contest from elbow. Code World not in a position to challenge whatsoever if that spike, you know, hadn't followed up. But it's the idea that Uncle wants to try and go for a quick refrag. I like it, but when you are the spike carrier, you have to fulfill your duties, and unfortunately for them, it's that overstep, that overzealous behavior which gets them caught out of position.
Red Radiant now holding down in towards Hookah and has seen lots of players, or at least seen one, the Rays. A little bit of information in that front, and the players now slowly make their way over towards A. There's been a rotate from the Brim, but we'll need to see if Shadow Ghoul can at least punish 1, maybe even 2. TP's out, but does chip damage. Joey does have an upgrade. It is that Spectre. Oh, sorry, that's a Force.
Yeah, we have seen a Force come through, but it's not one that looks to be panning out. A nice initial pick being taken there on the chamber to just fade away, and it leaves Briar chasing shadows, and they'll continue to do so as they now move towards the B site, completely uncleared. They rotate through, footsteps heard, everyone in position to shut them down. It's like, you know, Monsters Inc. There are a bunch of doors, and whichever one you open up, there's going to be something very scary on the opposite side. And I'm not sure Briar right now know exactly what to do.
30 seconds left.
This is the difference between the 2 comps, is that the stall capabilities that Concordia have with that double and controller setup, the Viper's done so well just to stop these players busting in through the site. They're watching towards CT, but I'll tell you something. They're already there and waiting. The Viper relocated in towards Long. The time's getting low. These players need to jump through now. They do so, but it's just a clean-up job, Hazza. Concordia, they move through on towards 11. 1 off map point, and it's been such a dominant display.
Team Ace as well. Every area of the map under lockdown. The rotate coming through, and yeah, nothing found from it. That's the problem. When you go for a Force there, I think you've just got to fully commit to making that A hit work, getting players in behind one another, playing 2s as much as you can, and getting those trades through, because as soon as you then try and hit the other end of the map, with the way that Bind plays with the teleporters as well, you know there's always going to be at least one player hanging over there with that spike not committed, and it's just too much for them to try and do from that position. Now 11-3. We're looking realistically at map point coming up here on their opponent's pick. Concordia doing everything right at this point in time. Another Force coming through, actually. Perhaps not the boldest, or a bold decision, perhaps not the smartest. Could this be it? There it is. Twee finally on the board as they get that kill, and maybe the round that they find a kill is the round that Briar can pick up from this attacking side.
Is Jawbreaker going to be the momentum breaker in this round? It seems like it as they pick out Twee. And now it's a 3 versus 2 man advantage towards this retake. At least the barrier rob's up to at least give some sort of delay, but how much delay actually is there? Because there's already a player in towards elbow. All players ready to take in towards this site. Jawbreaker takes out Uncle. Now up to Hariri, and Jawbreaker will finally take it. They do stop the momentum in this round. They stop the whole round, and that will be Concordia taking their map point.
Yeah, Briar deciding to force into that one again as well, or at least a couple of players had, right? You look at the main routes of them finding any kind of success. It's got to be Merchant currently aloft the scoreboard, but will need to ascend to a higher level of being if they really want to take anything home here. This is an incredulous lead which Concordia currently hold on to. 9 rounds separate the teams. That's as many as Concordia had coming into the half, and will actually Briar yet to register. That's as many as they've got now as well. Just the 3, and 3 picked up by Concordia since things swapped over. 7 in a row even to be looking at here, or I should say 8 in a row, looking to make it one better. Joey just about takes that kill, but Red Radiant finding the first, so still a 4 versus 4.
Your fear.
Cold World just feeling those paint shells coming through. A Nightfall invested, but they're trying to see if they can pick up this player. No sound, but what can the Viper do? Well, they can pick up Merchant. Maybe more to be found as they look to try and dip out there. No ammo on that Phantom, so they're going to trade up here. Oh, they don't even need to. They can just find the final kill with that, well, the remaining bullets. And now as they try and bust onto the site, there's only 2 players left. And now it's just a firing squad that finishes out this map. Concordia 13-3 has a what a surprise for them.
Yeah, right. Their opponent's pick, and it's 10 rounds which separate the teams in the end. Just to quickly break down what we saw in that last round as well, Code with the use of the Viper's Pit, not for the first time in this game, finding big value from it. It completely divided that push, and from that position onward, they were able to just pluck off players one by one, which looked to challenge it. It was an issue that needed to be cut at the root, but not one that they were able to deal with, unfortunately. Just like that, as we said, able to pick that map up. Concordia do it in a very strong fashion. Moving into Breeze, it's an uphill climb here if Briar Cliff want to, ascend that cliff and stay alive in the quarterfinals, in the playoffs here with the first week being played.
Yeah, it has. Well, there's a Breeze coming in, and that Breeze is in towards the semi-finals if Concordia can finish this series out. But before we can get to that point, Hazard, you know the drill. It is another 5-minute break. So guys, don't go far as we get ready for this next map.